Welcome to the British Online School podcast, our first podcast of many. We'll be releasing one every Monday and Wednesday, where we'll be talking to different professionals across different regions, and we'll explain how education may or may not have helped them become the success they are. Now, the British Online School, we are an online platform offering consistency to parents and students during this difficult time. We take the modern technologies and we fuse them together with traditional teaching values, creating the perfect environment for students to make that progress, work hard, and eventually become successful in whatever they wish to do. Today, we are going to discuss education and NFTs. Now, this is particularly exciting because we are the first school to accept payments with cryptocurrency. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome everyone to Professor Cardano. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
So, before we begin, a little bit about Professor Cardano. He was one of the first NFT projects to be released on the Cardano blockchain, and he is also one of the founding members of the website that seems to just be keeping getting bigger and bigger and bigger at the moment, cnft.io. Now, cnft.io is a marketplace where you can buy or sell all the latest NFTs on the Cardano blockchain. There is currently over 85,000 NFTs up for sale, and plus they've also created their own token, the CNFT token, which they've already sold 54 million of them. Professor, thank you for joining us. And before we begin, could you possibly explain to us what an NFT is?
Wow, okay. So the best way to describe it would be a digital Pokemon card. I think everyone knows what a Pokemon card is. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. So I guess the technical definition is where it's non-fungible, it means it's a whole. So it's not divisible. So it's just one thing. Like you have one passport, it can't be divided up and shared among people. You either own it or you don't. Whereas you have fungible tokens, which can be a fungible token is technically the crypto itself, like a Bitcoin could be I don't know 0.001 of a Bitcoin. You just don't get that with NFTs, and each NFT has its unique asset ID. So every single one is unique to that asset.
Okay, and what can you explain to us? What is the difference between owning an NFT and then looking something up on Google Images? Then, because that seems to be the most common question I get asked, especially when I was explaining that I'm going to be doing a podcast with an NFT creator. What is the difference there?
The main difference would be, you can see these NFTs, but you don't own them, and that's the whole point of this. Like we now live in a digital world. The pandemic's probably pushed us forward into this online world where everyone's gone online. Everyone's just had to adapt to this nature of online things. And imagine, like, we're only a few years into this crazy, like, internet sort of world, like, in the grand scheme of things. So can you imagine when we're sort of in this Ready Player One type film where you put on your VR goggles and you're in someone's house, you can actually put an NFT on the wall, and it'll be like actually having the Mona Lisa on your wall, because it's the only one. It's the uniqueness of it. Like, I could just go online, print a picture of the Mona Lisa out, and stick it on my wall. But you all know that's not the Mona Lisa. But with an NFT, you could go into someone's digital world, and you can actually see that their digital NFT is on the wall, and you know that they own it because there's only one of that NFT.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. I like that idea of actually printing the Mona Lisa off and have it on your wall. And I think that was a very good way of explaining it. Okay, so we've recently seen Visa pay out millions of pounds for an NFT on their logo as well. So what's the difference between the one that Visa brought and your one bought? Because if I'm right, the Visa one was Ethereum and yours is a Cardano NFT. Is there a difference between the two?
Yeah, there is. So Ethereum is a completely different blockchain. So we have obviously I'm on Cardano, as you know, my name's Professor Cardano. Ethereum was around before, and the founder of Cardano is called Charles Hoskinson. He was also the founder of Ethereum, but a few founders sort of went their own direction, and Charles has obviously made Cardano. But Ethereum's a few steps ahead. But as people would know, is the gas fees, which is the fee that you pay to do a transaction, is extremely high. It's not as what's the word, beneficial to be on Ethereum because it costs you so much money to do any transaction. And they recently had a London hard fork combinator, which means basically the code changes, or the way the blockchain is run is changed. And what happens now is you might see it on some exchanges like Coinbase. You'll see Ethereum and then Ethereum 2.0. But what's happening at the moment is it's kind of splitting the chain in half. So some people want to stay on the original Ethereum, and some people want to move over to the 2.0 Ethereum, because what the 2.0 one, well, actually it burns the gas fee, so it's a depreciating asset now. Whereas before, any gas fees would be done by the node operators, so they would actually make money from it. And obviously, I think they still do, but it's just not as beneficial to them anymore. So obviously, with this depreciating asset, the value of the Ethereum should, in theory, go up, but the supply will go down the more and more it is traded. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because obviously if you're splitting the wealth over two different things, and I guess if they're split into two, they could possibly split into three and four. It's never going to reach the potential it should do. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, but what I more meant was that with the version 2, where it burns the gas fees, it won't go back into the supply. Whereas on the first version, the gas fees would maintain. Like, I don't know what their market cap is. Let's say, for example, it's 40 billion Ethereum. Obviously now they'll be burning gas fees, which would mean that their total max supply would be like, could be 39 billion next year, then 38, then 37. So obviously that in turn, because there's less Ethereum out there in the world, would mean that the price of Ethereum would, in theory, go up because of the supply and
Ah,
demand.
I see. Okay, so that's fascinating. Now, my next question, you've sort of alluded to this already, was why are you deciding to put all your efforts into Cardano then? So we've heard why you prefer Cardano over Ethereum, but there's so many cryptocurrencies out there at the moment. Why is Cardano the one that you've chosen to go in with, build your platform on, and build your NFTs on?
Cardano is like how do people explain it? They sort of say that it's a level 3 or a third series crypto. So like number one was Bitcoin, number two was Ethereum, and now you've got number three, which is like the you've got like Polkadot, Cardano, and all these other ones, and that basically they're seeing all the mistakes that the first two made, and they're actually realizing that actually we can do stuff better and easier and quicker. Cardano is very much like science based and peer reviewed and stuff. So there's lots and lots of white papers out there. And when they were first creating the whole chain, they had many people sort of read about the chain, kind of go through the theoretical side of things, and work out whether it be successful and whether it actually works or not, rather than just picking an idea out of your head. Yeah, really, Cardano is potentially could be the number one cryptocurrency in the world. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's a bold statement to
But
make there.
it is a bold statement. I think Bitcoin has cemented itself as the digital gold, so that will just be around forever. But at one stage, like we've done with our own currency in the real world, no one's currency is now based on the gold standard. So we've moved away from that. So at the moment, I guess crypto is kind of related to Bitcoin in some respects. But as we move forward, like 10 years, 20 years down the line, we'll pull away from Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will just be a piece of gold that will just be sat there, and the value probably wouldn't change much. It's going to stabilize a lot, I would say. There's probably a lot of volatility coming, but yeah. So really, going back to why I think Cardano is the best one is they're still a brand new chain in the grand scheme of things, and they're on the 12th of September, so in 10 days' time, they're doing a hard fork combinator, which means smart contracts are available, which means we can then have things called decentralized apps, or dApps, as people call them, which means a central server or a central person doesn't have control over what that asset or what your cryptocurrency does. So you could, like, for example, you could sign let's use CNFT as an example. You could sign your NFT to say, if this buyer pays me 1 ADA for this asset, I will allow this asset to instantly be sent to that buyer. So you're already agreeing the terms of that deal before it's actually been completed. So you haven't got to do anything after that. You just say, yeah, I'm happy for that to go, and then what will happen is it will be automated. There's no server. There's no like waiting around for anything. That really is just a real simple term. Like these smart contracts can be massive, and I reckon very soon as well, people will be buying houses with them, buying properties, buying businesses, the whole thing. And Cardano has a smart contract converter. So what I can imagine happening as well is obviously it has smart contracts at the moment. As people sort of move away and explore other options, I suspect people from Ethereum would probably convert their smart contracts or their dApps into Cardano in some way, and that will then grow the chain even further. And that's what you're seeing at the moment, like these all-time highs all the time with Cardano. As more and more people are coming to the blockchain, more and more people are realizing its potential, and it's undervalued at the moment. It's just hit $3, but that's still undervalued in my opinion. It could hit $10 by the end of the year.
No, that's fascinating. We actually have some Cardano in the British Online School Bank, so I do hope you're right there. Now, I like what you were saying about the smart contracts. I'd recently heard Gary Vee mention something like that, and the one he was using is the idea of music artists selling their tickets with the use of smart contracts. So down the line, if anyone ever wanted to sell their ticket as sort of like as a collectible, so obviously like the programs or the ticket stubs, in future he believes they're all going to be NFTs, and then that even when people sell them on as collectibles in the future, the artist is still going to be making money from them as well. So that's sort of exactly the same sort of thing you were going along with, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Also, I guess there comes with a bit of security. How many times have you heard these horror stories about people buying tickets online and they've turned out to be fake? You've been turned away at the door. If it's an NFT connected to a smart contract as a ticket, that policy ID, you can actually go on that website, you can check the policy ID matches, and you know for a fact that that ticket is genuine. You can pay for it, and also you'll know that the smart contract will only execute if it's right. So really, we gone are the days now of paper and printers and stuff. Like every single person has a computer in their hand, and unfortunately, people are going to be left behind if they don't catch up. They're going to be left behind, and that's the harsh reality of this world. We've seen it all. We've seen it before. Like obviously the generation in front of us, obviously they are getting left behind because all this technology is coming out, but they don't have the time and patience to actually learn it and want to know it. And I don't blame them. That's on them. That's fine. But realistically, the world's changing, and really, if you're looking for a career that's going to pay you lots of money, it will probably be some sort of something to do with IT in some respects, coding, crypto development, blockchain development. Like I've seen some news articles the other day. Amazon are looking for blockchain developers.
No way. So Amazon could be
So
entering into the blockchain.
what does that mean? Is Amazon looking to take crypto payments? Because as soon as Amazon start, you know well that everyone's going to start taking crypto.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more with you. And everything you're saying is sort of the ethos we're building this school on. We do believe everything is going to be online as well. We believe everything is heading that direction. Hence why we're starting this school, the British
Yeah,
Online School. And I completely agree with everything you're saying. I think it's a fascinating subject, and I think we're just at the beginning of it. We've spoken before briefly, and you explained this blockchain as sort of being, or the NFT market, especially like we're at the beginning of the dot-com bubble in regards to cryptocurrency and NFTs.
100%. We haven't even touched the surface yet, and you see all the time the news saying the NFT bubble is going to burst. It's going to do this. I remember seeing a picture of the newspaper when the internet come around, and they said the internet's here but not here to stay. Now look, like we're talking over the internet rapidly without any delay.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? That is our lives, and people are negative about things. I think people should get behind things because they, unfortunately, like I was just saying, they're going to get left behind. So yeah, you really need to just catch up, and maybe I could do a little talk to your students at one point about crypto and things, do a
That'd
bit
be
of a seminar.
fantastic. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. We can organise a Q&A where they can ask you different
Yeah,
questions. Because that is definitely something we'd like to bring into the curriculum. But obviously, it's how do we fit that in? But stuff like that, sort of an extracurricular activity of talking to crypto experts, people in the field, that's a fantastic idea. So we'll definitely take you
yeah,
up on that in the near future.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could even obviously we've got our blockchain developers and other developers as well. So if they ever need expertise in that sort of area as well, I'm more than happy to lend a hand.
That's fantastic. Really appreciate that. Right. So one last question before I start diving into your educational background. What's next for CNFT.io and the professor?
Okay, so what's next? At the moment, the professor sort of I focused on the CNFT platform. As you can imagine, it was a major task. It's the first ever marketplace of NFTs on the Cardano blockchain, and it's the only one still. No one else has
Can I
built a
just check?
marketplace.
You mentioned Hoskinson as the creator of Cardano, but this hasn't been created alongside him at all, is it? This has all been done by you and your other two partners off your own off your own back, and it's nothing to do actually with the official Cardano launch. This is all your own work, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, because it is crypto related. Obviously, yeah, Charles Hoskinson was the or is the founder of Cardano, but he doesn't have, because it's a fully decentralized network. He doesn't have any control over the network, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, if I can just go
Yeah.
a
So
bit more on decentralized, I think that is one of the
okay.
key things in the world right now with stuff that's going on, with things we're hearing in the news online. The fact that something can be decentralized and not owned by anyone is what's that saying? Made by the people, for the people, of the people. And I think that is
Yeah.
a fantastic way forward. Yeah, sorry, carry on, but I just thought that was a good thing to highlight.
No. Yeah. Well, that I was reading an article this morning actually about the police in America, and they seized the man's assets. He got pulled over, and then the police overstretched and seized this man's assets. And you just kind of think if he was holding crypto, he wouldn't be having this problem.
Yeah, what's there to
He,
take?
these governments, exactly, they overstretch the mark, and where does it stop? Like I was reading that the UK want to create their own Bitcoin, which is a cryptocurrency, but it's going to be centralised with the Bank of England. I'm completely against that, and that goes against everything that the cryptocurrency world stands by. You can't have a cryptocurrency that's governed by a government. It just doesn't work. It's silly.
Yeah,
Um, so obviously there's been no white papers about what the actual Bitcoin itself, as they're calling it, will do and how it works. So it's obviously a bit hard for me to pass a judgment, but that's what I can imagine. Is if these governments are going to have control over it. But yeah, sorry, what were we saying?
yeah, we
We
sort
were
of got off the
talking about.
question, didn't we? But I'll repeat it. So, what is next for CNFT.io? What's your next big project that's coming up? Or the professor?
Right. Well, so at the moment on CNFTIO, we're growing exponentially. So sort of every single day we're seeing record breaking numbers coming to our site. And obviously that entail then puts pressure on our servers and on our databases. And then we always have to explore options about growing. So we've already upgraded the servers once already, but this has been the biggest jump. And at the moment, the site isn't performing exactly how we'd like it to perform. So we have literally every single developer and every person we have working on a change to upgrade the database, which will then in turn mean that the database can be scalable to whatever the users are. So, say for example, I don't know, there's 1,000 people, and then it jumps to 10,000 users at that second. We need that database to be able to talk to all them 10,000 people instantly. And that's what we're just working on right now. We're tidying up the code that we've written, some of the API calls that we have. So like an API is when we talk to another server or a service and pull in an asset or pull in any text or details. So we're tidying up all the code, We're going through the whole site, and that's at the moment that's the main priority. What we have sort of in the features list coming up is we are going to build a minting platform, so you can mint your NFTs directly on our site without knowing any code, and you can mint and list your NFT for sale directly. We're also creating something called Project Launchpad, which would be if someone has an NFT idea and they're an artist or they're a creator, then they will create their project and we'll help them along the way. And then we'll basically it'll be a vending machine. So all they'll do is the buyers will send that ADA into the vending machine, and they'll randomly get back an NFT based on that project. So
That's
the project can go off and do marketing, and then obviously sell it directly on our platform as a launchpad to help people grow their NFT projects and brands. We also have, I'm just trying to think, yeah, so we're going to be bringing offers out. So if you say if something's listed for 1,000 ADA, what we'll do is we will allow someone to offer, say, for example, 800 ADA, and then the user or the seller can actually accept that offer. We're also going to be bringing bundled listings, so you can, if you have like multiple of the same project, you might want to sell like 3 or 4 of the same kind of project NFTs as a bundle, or do you know what, you can even do completely different NFTs. It doesn't have to be the same project, but yeah, you could do bundle listings as well. So you can you might be able to buy like 4 NFTs at one go. We're also going to be bringing auctions as well. So yeah, we've got lots and lots going on. And as for me as the professor, we've got more and more designs coming out, and we're hoping to get down to hydrogen by sort of the end of the year. And also we have the lab that we're going to launch, which is like an interactive NFT game where you can put in your elements and put in your potions and put in other assets that you have, and then it will spit a prize out. So, and that's kind of the way that we're going at the moment. Just obviously working out the details and building the whole thing.
Well, that's
Yeah.
great. And I know we're just touching the tip of the iceberg of what's going on with you, with the professor, with the CNFT, with the NFT blockchain. We could talk about this for hours, but I do need now to get down to the crux of it, because I've heard you mention so many keywords. Lab. I know your Professor Cardano is built on the periodic table. You've talked about paper reviews and research and all this sort of stuff. So it all sounds very educational what you are doing. So I have to ask now the important question. Do you feel your school education has helped you in creating what you have created and become such a success in it? Now, before you answer, I do just want to say when I email anyone to join our podcast, I do ask them to answer this honestly, because we know as a school we can't teach everyone everything. Again, lessons can be learned outside of the classroom, and actually more lessons are usually learned outside the classroom than in the classroom. So don't feel pressured you have to sort of sell how brilliant school is. We do ask for an honest answer. So once again, do you feel your school education helped you become a success with NFTs and cryptocurrency?
No.
No. Okay. Please elaborate.
I guess I will say probably the school of YouTube helped me the most.
School of YouTube. Right. Okay. Go. Please go in
Like,
depth more.
because sometimes school isn't for everyone. School isn't built for every single person exactly the same way. It's impossible to learn. But if you're online, you're more comfortable. You're at your own. You're in your own environment. You can chop and change these topics that you want to learn. If what you're learning isn't interesting to you, then you can go off and find a different lesson or a different video to watch, and you'll always pick up, you'll learn, and then you can also do as well, because sometimes when you're in a classroom, you're just being talked at, and
Yeah.
sometimes you actually want to do the practical stuff as well while the person's talking. And if it's online, and you can pause the video, you can do the things you need to do to learn as you go. Obviously some people might just take the information in, but other people might have to learn as they go. So for me, school taught me the basics, my own drive and ambition, I guess, to learn something new, pushed me over that kind of edge. Like I had no ambition to learn English or to write or maths, for example. Yeah, obviously I know maths and stuff, and that is from school. And of course, like I wouldn't be able to talk to you right now without school. But the things that you do after school, I think you learn after school. You know.
So from what I get from what you're saying is it was actually the environment in school you didn't like that didn't help you learn. And everything you said about online learning, by the way, we didn't ask him to say that. This is all genuine, and it's not just to promote obviously what we're doing, but obviously everything you said does sound very similar to what we're promoting. But so it was the environment, I guess, that
Yeah,
you.
of course, and that's yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I did agree to come on is I like what you guys have built and are doing. If this was available to me when I was at school, it probably would have benefited me 100 times more than just going to school sort of 8:30 till 3, going to all these mandated classes that I don't know. It just yeah, it was just different for me. Like obviously the person sat next to me in class probably really enjoyed it, and that's fine. But yeah, so I don't know what I'm saying. Like yeah, I guess overall schools are good for the basic knowledge of life. There's a few things that I think schools miss out on though. Is literally like why is there not a life lesson where it's like why do they not teach you about loans, overdrafts, the credit, the how to get a mortgage? You should be saving your money. How does your taxes work? Like in the UK, how much tax do you pay, and what are you going to be earning? Why is there £12,500 you're allowed to earn tax free? Like what's national insurance? Where does that get spent? Like what tax do you actually pay? Why? For me, that you just kind of get chucked into this adult world, and you have to be knowledgeable of that. But how? Where do you learn that? I thought that's what school was for, right?
Yeah, that is a common criticism as a teacher when I was in a real school with walls and doors and everything that we hear a lot of time from students who return, and from parents. So yeah, it is a frustration. That's something we're looking to build here within our extracurricular activities. What I did think you were going to say though is an argument I've heard, well, not even an argument actually, but a fact, is that actually with the way the technology is advancing at the moment, students, and I think this was particularly true, especially when I was at school. And I'm not quite sure how it was for you, but we were actually getting ready, preparing for jobs that weren't even invented yet. And I think we can see that, especially with the technologies we have now. But it seems to be a very common argument that the students in school now, they'll be going on to do jobs with equipment, resources, and technologies that aren't even invented yet, that we don't even know what they're going to
Yeah,
look like. And I think for what you're doing, I mean, no one would even have guessed what an NFT or cryptocurrency was when you were back at school.
exactly. Yeah, how on earth would I be taught an NFT or a blockchain? And that's why schools should be, for me, they should be the basic understanding of things like your maths, your English, your science, all of that kind of stuff. But then I guess that's probably why they say like obviously you then go off to university and you learn this. But sometimes you've got to realise that is a degree worth it? In some roles, yes. In other roles, no. Like some of the wealthiest people on the planet dropped out of school. Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Elon Musk. Like all these people, like Elon Musk does this. He teaches his kids online.
Oh, does he?
Like
I
literally,
have to reach
the
out
richest
to
man in
him.
the world. Exactly, the richest man in the world doesn't send his kids to school. He teaches them the way they want to be taught. That sounds volumes to me.
That's fascinating. I must admit that is something I didn't realise. But no, I like to say I agree with everything you're saying, and I like the fact you're saying that you do still need those basics, but actually the stuff you needed did come after school, and it just goes to show that any student who is out there at the moment, do not panic. Okay, do not panic. Just because you're leaving school doesn't mean your education's over. Doesn't mean if you failed, you've not got nothing laying in front of you. There's a big wide world waiting for you to learn as much as you want. So, Professor, you've touched on it a little bit, and you mentioned a couple of things. But if you could pick one thing out of everything you've just said, or maybe something you haven't said, that you wish was taught to you in school that wasn't, what would that one thing be?
Good question. The one thing I think should be taught in school should be life lessons. Should
Like,
just be called life. Like like just life. Just when you leave school, this is what will happen. This is what you need to pay. You need to do this. You need to get a bank account. What's a bank account? You need to get a loan. You need to know what APR rates are. Like kids are leaving school at 18 and they're or college and they're like, what on earth is all of this? Like, I have no idea. I'm just like, and also you've then got to rely on your parents to give you that information or someone who's close to you to provide you that information. And if your parents aren't clued up on all of this stuff, then you've got an unfair advantage. So why don't they just level everyone up to be at the same knowledge base? And I'm pretty sure, pretty much guarantee it. Any single high street bank will bite the hand off the government or the Department for Education if they can walk in to every single school in the UK and sign up a child with a bank account and give them all the exact information that they need, because then they've got every single child will be leaving school with a bank account, and their accounts will be millions and millions, and they'll be making money from it, and they'll probably provide the education for free. So I've basically just solved this life lesson of how do we pay for it. Like, it's simple, really. Just contract it out to a bank. Like, just literally just go to NatWest and say, can you go and teach every single kid in every single classroom in let's say year 10. So you have a year of life lessons in year 10 about money and banks and loans and overdrafts, credit, and all of this stuff, like car finance, car insurance, all of this stuff. Go out, you can be the financial educator. Go out, sign them up to a bank account. So when they leave school, they have a bank account. They know exactly what they're doing and what their interest rates are and everything else. Will that not save the country money in the long run as well? Like, people are going to be educated, so there's going to be less debt. There'll be less CCJs issued with people. So because people won't get back into bad debt, they will pay their debt off. So then there'll be less court fees, and then it's a whole round circle of it starts at education,
Uh,
and that's never given at school.
I love it. And this is why I think it's so important to start a podcast like this where we do talk about education, because that is a whole new look on it. I mean, I know, obviously, being a maths teacher previously, I know that banks do run not similar courses, but do run courses and free education like that, but nothing quite as full on as that. And obviously, that's a whole new take on it. And this is why I do think this type of podcast needs to be out there, just putting these different ideas forward, giving people maybe a bit of inspiration to start something like that up. Because yeah, some people maybe watch this and thinking, well, that wouldn't work because of this, but it gets that conversation started. And like you said, that's the one thing you wish you were learned at school. And who knows how more quickly you could have been successful if that was taught. But I think that's fascinating. And there's so much passion behind that. Maybe you should start that.
Well,
Start a Cardano banking school.
well, that's it. Like, if you, I'd probably like to guess that probably 80% of people watching this can probably relate to some sort of bad debt in their life where they haven't paid their credit card, they haven't paid a loan off, or they haven't realised what the sort of ramifications of not paying something back. Because credit really is the key. Is if you have credit, you can then do things with your life. You can buy a house, you can buy a car, you can go along these roads where otherwise, if you have bad credit, you're just going to have to rent somewhere, but it's going to be more expensive, and then you're going to have to live. You're not going to be able to afford to move out and buy your own place and then save money and have the things that you like.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that word you keep using there, bad debt. And then obviously talking about getting a house and the mortgage and stuff like that, and not calling that bad debt. I think it's Robert Kawasaki, isn't it, from Rich Dad Poor Dad, who relates it as bad debt and good debt. And there's different things with each of them.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I like the fact you're not
yeah,
saying that all
100%.
debt's bad, but there is such a thing as bad debt.
Yeah, if you don't pay it back, then it becomes bad debt, and that's when you have trouble because then they're going to charge you for it.
I think that's fascinating, and I'm sure there's 101 other things you have that you'd like to improve in the education system. But I know you're a very busy man. So, Professor, whilst even though you say you didn't learn everything you needed at school, but you managed to get the fundamentals, what would you say is your one fondest memory of your time when you were at school?
So I think the best time I had was probably when I actually got in trouble, and um, this was in I can't remember what year it was. I'm going to say I think year 8 or 9, and the school at this point had like blocked every single game website. So like obviously when you're in IT, you can't load any websites to play games on. Obviously when you're kids, that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
So I thought, right, what I'm going to do is find out how can I host a gaming website that people can have access to all these Flash games. This is when Flash was a thing back then, because obviously it's been discontinued now. And these people can play games, and the school couldn't block my website. So every time they tried to, the site would just change, and it would remain up for ages. And I remember getting my first Google Analytics check, and I think I made like maybe £49 in the year for just hosting this game website, because obviously I added adverts to it, and that was my first ever experience of building a website. And for me, obviously my life is on the internet, and for me, building my first ever website that's probably my fondest memory of what I've done. And I also built it at school, so
Yeah.
that's
So
it.
you had entrepreneur blood running through your veins even at that young age, building a website and making money whilst you slept, or even
Yeah,
whilst you attended school.
exactly.
Brilliant. And one last question: you could give one piece of advice for those who are currently in school right now, either about to sit their GCSEs or just about to start secondary school, in junior school. One piece of advice that could apply to all students across all years. What would that be?
School is better than you think when you're at school. Just enjoy it, because it doesn't last for long. And I wish that I could probably go back to school and do it all over again. I'd maybe do things a little bit differently, but you get to spend time with your friends. You see the people you like every single day. Yes, you have to go to classes and stuff and learn stuff, but really that's not too bad. It's only, what you doing, 9 till 3. It's not too long. And then when you go into the big wide world, like we were saying with these life lessons, you've now got to manage your life, and it's not as fun as you think. You look at these adults doing stuff; they're all going through hard times. They've got no money. They're doing nothing. People are struggling. So yeah, just enjoy school while it's there, and while your life's easy, because it might not seem easy right now, but it actually is.
Nice. There you go. So one bit of advice there from the professor: enjoy school while you're there. So thank you very much for joining us. Where can people find you? What social media platforms and what is your social media handles?
So you can find me on Twitter, is my most active place, Professor Cardano. You can also find me on Discord, Instagram. Professorcardano.com is my website. You can see an interactive table of elements. You can see all the elements that are linked to the NFTs. And also cnft.io is my marketplace, that's shared with a couple of other people. And you can follow them on Twitter, which is cnft_io. And then also, if you look at the footer, there's loads of other social links there on the CNFT website.
Fantastic. We didn't even get to touch on why your NFTs are based on the periodic table, which is most the most educational thing about your thing, but we had so much other stuff to talk about. I think that was fascinating.
Exactly.
All the Professor and CNFTs.io's links will be in the bio below. If you've enjoyed this conversation, do be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're interested in enrolling either yourself or your child into the British Online School, please do visit our website or contact us either through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or our emails. Thank you everyone for joining us, and have a fantastic day.